What's poppin', people? Welcome back for another deck profile. We got Armour for this one. This one, you know, the shirt can give away. I'm a big Armour fan, and just all of y'all are big Armour fans. The last video did very well. This one's gonna be for BT15. I know everyone's waiting for BT16, but we do get a couple of new pieces that we can mess around with here. And obviously we are now post restrictions, so the Beelzemon jamming is it's dead. So this is what the new list is going to look like. The sleeves, once again, big shout outs to Kai, and big shout outs to Kai and Harry for the Armour t-shirt. Now, let's get into it. By get into it, I mean, I was only just supposed to wake up. In fact, if you're watching this, I know, this comes out the day after. If you're watching this Thursday, my hitbox has arrived, so maybe it's some more fighting game content on the channel soon. But yeah, that out of the way. We start at the eggs because we do have the eggs, and I know Beelzemon has been shot dead, but we're still going to run one because they let us run one. Until they ban the 1-0s, we will continue to run the 1-0s. So one jamming Beelzemon, and then, so you can either run 4 Wanya, which I do have here, but you can also choose to test the Xiaomon. Xiaomon is all turns when this Digimon is level 4, get plus 1000 DP. And the reason that we're doing that is because it allows your Magnamons to become 8k. And when they are 8k, it allows them to contest level 5s slightly better. So you can run 4 Wanya if you just want the card draw. But I just need my 4th Xiaomon today. I'm going to be testing Xiaomon up until basically these new Magnamons are legal. And just keep an eye on the pinned comments because they'll let you know whether I'm switching to Wanya or whether the Xiaomon experiment has paid off. Aggressively, the 8k Magnamons doesn't feel that good, and sometimes you would just wish you were drawing cards. But defensively, on the same caveat, the 8ks that they're still crashing into will be 8ks that you can now block. All right, so go into the rookies. You have 1, 2, 3 of the Veemon from BT12. We're not running this as a 4 of yet because our Magnamon X isn't free type, not until BT16. So we're just running 3 of these because this does find a free type and it does find a Davis. Since we're no longer on jamming Beelzemon, we can no longer just turn all of our Veemons into jamming. So we are on the 3 jamming Veemons. Just to make sure you can still have that early aggression and then turn into something. Just unfortunately no inherit. But it is what it is. We're still on 2 of the double agent. The one that finds your Magnamon X, finds any 2-color card. So we'll find your Daikens and stuff like that. But right now we're running him as a 2 just because he still can find pieces that your Veemon BT12 can't find. And then we are still running 4 of the best Veemon in the deck. No more of the EX1 Veemon is very, very sad, but you're just not going to be able to get him sideways frequently enough for it to matter. Maybe you could still run him in the back and evolve into a Magnamon swing, have it trade, and then you get to go into an unsuspending Magna and try and get value out of that. But it's just a little bit too clunky now that you can't just guarantee that the Veemon's going to live with jamming unless it's exactly on Beelzemon, which you just can't guarantee. So we are on what most would probably still consider a pretty low rookie count. 7, 10. We're on 12 rookies. Like it's fine for Armors. I've never really gone fewer than 12. And that is going to be our Veemon lineup. So most importantly, we do have jamming back in the fray. In terms of an extra rookie, we are on the Ukamon as well. Just 1. I feel like every list basically has to run Ukamon now. And we just didn't have space for 2 like we used to. So we're just down to 1 Ukamon. So Ukamon rounds out the rookie lineup. 12 Veemons and 1 Uko. And here's we get on to the Magnas. BT13, we're only running 3 of them because this one doesn't have armor purge. So there are some situations where this will still proc piercing or still proc Luger, stuff like that, because it is actually getting deleted. But it just means if it gets bounced or anything like that, you can still actually make use of it, which is kind of nice. It means that you can still stay sticky on the board if it gets Zudoed or stuff like that, and being able to float is still nice, even if it's not armor purge. Then in terms of armor purges, Magnamon We are going to be on 4 of BT8 because he is that guy. Gives you the plus 2k whenever it digivolves and gets the unsuspend. Since you're not always going to have Daiken, this is going to be your main way of like actually aggroing back into things. And he's kind of the Magnamon that you want to be using second. Like you can build Magnamon BT13 in the back, but you kind of really want to be pushing out and doing some damage with this. And we are on 4 of the new Magnamon. So what this card does, this is going to be legal off the starter decks March 8th, so 1 week off the ban list. Out of security, you get to de-digivolve 1 Digimon, and at the end of the battle, one of your Digimon may digivolve into this card without paying the cost. Then when digivolving, for each color one of your opponent's Digimon has, trash the top Digivolution cards of that opponent's Digimon. So if it is a 2-color Digimon, you get to trash 2 sources from the top, and then you get to bounce a Digimon with no sources to the hand. So this card, honestly, very, very good into a lot of cards. A lot of cards nowadays, especially boss monsters, or even some rookies now are 2-color, which means that if they leave a 3 or a 4 that is a 2-color, you can just Magnamon, bounce it back to hand, just reset them to 0. But it also means, since it's going from the top, there are a lot of times where like X antibody under the like Oriyumon or anything like that, you're just going to strip the sources from the top, which is going to help you just keep that pressure on and get rid of useful sources. Very, very solid card. At first I thought this was a 3 of, but in testing, the more I play it, fantastic card. Definitely a 4 of. So I think 4-4-3. Some people go 4-4-4, but I don't think it's necessary. I think you can just afford to go afford to cut one of the BT13. It's also the most expensive one, so Lamau. So that is all of our 4s. And our ace lineup is going to be 2 Wagurumon ace. We're not on any Shakamon still. We're just going to be running aces so that way you can play a little bit defensively. We are switching over to Wagurumon. You could go into Zudomon if you like the strip and bounce, but now that we have the Magnamon, you can still get that value. And Wagurumon just lets you also still play a little bit more consistent defense. Obviously, Blast Evo counter on play when digivolving, draw 1 if you have 5 or more cards in your hand, trash 1 card. All turns when a Digimon adds a card to your hand, then one of your opponent's Digimon can't suspend until the end of your opponent's turn. The reason we're running this over the Zudo is it means that if they do have these big established stacks, just from the ability to draw 1 off of its own digivolving, will allow you to stun things. It also means if you push out of raising and you have the Veemon that lets you draw a card from draw the 2-color draw card off the promo, that activates Wagurumon's effect, and you can basically just set these where you just stun them. If you're on Wanyamon, just swinging with whilst you have a blue Tamer will proc this every single time, so you can just keep something locked down. And that might be another reason to run Wanya over the Shaomon. Instead of having these 8k crashes, instead it allows your Wagurumon to actually just sit on the field and just be a nuisance. Obviously you do want to go into 6s where you can, but you're going to, this is one of the aces that actually lets you get value. Like, it lets you get value over and over again. It'd be the same if you're on like a on deletion, draw 1, trash 1. Just the fact that it is when a Digimon card adds to your hand by an effect, it means that BT13 Magna, when it floats, is also going to proc this. You're just going to have way more uses rather than just the straight come down, get its value. Now it's just a liability on board. This card, the longer it's out, the more value it prints. Then Magnamon X, running it as a 4 of until we have a new Magnamon X. This is still the best card to find. It's unfortunately just a vaccine, not a free type, so that is why we're using the 2-color Veemon to try and search it. Gives you your infinite redirects. You need it in the D Brigade matchup. You need it versus Luga. You need it versus a bunch of things. Still a solid card. Still a 4 of. Don't need any other level 6s. 1 Blitz Omni, 1 Omni X. The standard really for any blue aggro deck. Just going to use these to close out games. More often than not, I don't even have Blitz Omni. I'm just on the Omni X. But those are our megas. And here's where we get into option cards. We like to kill people dead in Minecraft, and to do that, we're going to use 3 Fire Rocket. Aggro deck that swings for 2 checks. Why not? Just set it up. We're down to 1 armor texture because we kind of are preparing for future formats where we need it, and also there's a little bit more DP minus just running around thanks to yellow vaccine being good. So we want to make one space for a Awakening of the Golden Knight. Out of security brings a Magnamon back to your hand, but also for 3 cost you can warp any of your armors, so Magnas, into a card with Magna, which means you could cycle 2 Magnas on top of each other if you needed to, but it also means you can put your Magnamon X antibody on top without having to pay that 4 cost, which sometimes can be quite useful. In terms of other ways to get into Magna X for cheaper, we are on 1 proto form now. You play it, you get to reduce the cost of an Evo into an X antibody by 1, so you can turn any of your Magnas into a 3 cost Evo, and then put it underneath. When this Digimon would leave the battle other than by 1 of your effects, this Digimon, remove this from its Digivolution cards, place it on the security stack, and then you also get to take 1 Digimon from the source to hand. Which does mean if you have situations where you have like your Magnamon X antibody, you could like pick out the rookie, or if you've gone Magna Ace, then you would be able to take out one of your Magnas just to get the float, because it's when it would be deleted, which means you do get to do some fun things like right before it goes to top of security, get to recover 1 and then also get a piece back and then pop to the top of security. So you're recovering 2 off of having proto form underneath your Magnamon X antibody. We do still have 1 regular X antibody, so you can just warp during combat steps. Sometimes you're just going to end your turn with an Evo anyway, so you just get to swing, get that extra damage, go into X antibody, guarantee that you're still going to be able to redirect. And then whilst you're there being a giant brick wall, we are going to smite the heathens by dropping 3 Heaven's Judgment on them. Just clears boards, just be a nuisance, and get as much value out of it as you can. It's up to 3 because you just need to be able to shoot stuff dead. Bugs are unaffected by Digimon effects, and this is your answer to bugs. If you don't find this, you don't win. And then we are on 2 trainings because trainings are still good. There's no reason to completely abandon them just yet. And since you're less likely to be on Ukomon turn 1, you do actually get to rookie training or something like that. So plenty of option cards still. You could cut a couple of these to like make space for more Digimon, but I think having the spell cards just helps you put extra pressure on. And Fire Rocket especially, still one of the go-to cards for this deck, because we're also on a Shulin, or Shuyulin. Out of security, obviously play this card. Then start of your turn, it is your Mem Setter. We're replacing the Davis with this, and then it does have Mind Link into X Antibody or Digi Police. Obviously, it's designed for the Digi Police, but the fact that it says X Antibody means it works with Magnamon X Antibody. This is actually a tech that was used in the BT16 Worlds list, and I actually really like it. Obviously, it's more effective with the new Magna X that we don't have, but it still gets value here. All turns, it gives Alliance and Reboot, and then end of turn, you can un-Mind Link her if you want. The fact that it gives Alliance means that you can turn any of your other rookies, maybe something that floated or anything like that, you can turn them into an extra check. It means also, since she's a Mem Setter, you'll always have memory to be able to Fire Rocket. So if you do have like a Magnamon or something like that already on field, you can drop Fire Rocket on your Magna X, Shulin, Alliance, and that's going to be 3 checks. And that is just some serious value. Obviously in BT16, where Magnamon's going to unsuspend as soon as something hits security, it means you'd be able to do something like 3 checks, 2 checks, Blitz Omni. And that idea is something that you will see in the BT16 profile. But for now, we're just running Shu as a one-of, because she's unsearchable. You kind of just have to draw into her, and she is a 4-cost Tamer, which is kind of expensive. 4-cost Tamer, we're still on 2 Daiken, because being able to unsuspend your Digimon is still very useful, especially since you're still going to be wanting to play aggro, even though you're not going to be getting as many unsuspends or anything like that. Just giving you the option to especially warp during combat step. If you're doing Magnamon X Antibody Evo, Davis Ken allows you to have a standing Magnamon X, which is still kind of useful. And we're on 3 Davis because, I mean, Davis play Veemon is the same as playing a Veemon, so you might as well just get as much value as you can. Prints the memory at the start of turn. Never going to evolve into X Veemon, but he's still there. So that is kind of what we're looking at for BT15 once we do get the new Magnamons. Let me know what you think, whether you're going to be on Xiaomon to try and play a little bit more of that defensive contesting game, or whether you're just going to see if you can use Wanyamon to loop the Wega Room on stun. And yeah, thanks for all the support. We'll be doing more content as always. Members got this earlier since there's no ads in it. So if you want to get my profiles earlier, join the membership. Woo.